Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the GEO Huddle. Today we're speaking with Stephan van den Oetelaar, CEO of slot supplier Stakelogic. So Stephan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. To start off with, can you sort of tell us a bit about your background and how you became Stakelogic CEO?
Okay, well, my educational background is that I have a bachelor in electrical engineering and I hold a master's degree in business administration. In my professional career, I started several software companies. So I made billing systems for utility companies in the past and asset and risk management software for the financial industry. And when my two oldest sons, which are now 18 and 19 years, were very small, I started some daycare centers in the area where I live. And I still have those, which is convenient because my youngest son is 18 months old now. And in 2018, I bought Stakelogic. And I appointed myself as the CEO of the company. I must say, before 2018, I didn't know much about the online gambling industry, but I got interested in the industry because of its size and the way the industry develops very rapidly at the moment. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 3 years this industry doubles in size. So I looked for an opportunity to get in, and Stakelogic for me was the perfect opportunity to do so. Since the takeover, which is now 2 years ago, we grew from 25 staff to 100 in 4 countries. And when I bought the company, we had 4 clients, and our customer base is at the moment 500 operators. And also the revenue grew by 500%. So far we've done fine. I'm very happy.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you've got a very broad background there and sort of multiple industries. In terms of the CEO role specifically, what would you say is kind of the best route to becoming a CEO? Is it sort of through marketing or operations, finance, or maybe like more of a mix of everything, kind of a bit like your path?
Well, I took the easy route, yes. I started my own companies and I appointed myself as CEO from day one. But I think you mean as a next step in somebody's career. Mm-hmm. I think, first of all, you should question yourself, why do I want to be a CEO? Yeah, because if your heart is really with sales or with marketing or finance or technology, you should realize that the CEO is involved in everything. So your specific interest might only be a small part of that. But I would say to become a CEO, your professional background is not that important because most of the operational tasks are done by other people anyway. I think to fulfill the CEO role, it's important to understand the industry that you're operating in and that you have a clear vision in which you think this industry will develop in the next 5 years. Because I think for the CEO, it's important, to set the goals for the company and to define the strategy and then, create the conditions that the organization can execute the strategy and achieve the goals which are set out. And I think that's basically the role of the CEO. So he could come from finance or from marketing or from sales. I don't think that is very important.
Sure, no, that's very interesting and makes a lot of sense. And as you've said, kind of you've talked about the industry that you're in for the next, you mentioned doubling in the next 3 years. So as a kind of online slot company right now, what are the biggest priorities for Stakelogic, but also for the wider industry, and kind of bearing in mind the effects of the pandemic and sort of the new normal for customers as well?
Okay, well, I will start with your first question. I think game studios will more and more change in professional managed software factories. I think we will create games which are easy maintainable because of new operating systems coming up all the time and demands we get from regulators. I think also time to market will be more and more important for game studios. So I think for developing a game concept, you should really take your time, because the game concept that defines the success a game might have in the market. But once a game is specified, then in a 3-month period, I think you should build and test the game and get it out in the market. I think that's also something we're moving towards. And also you will see that more and more game studios will be ISO certified in the future because more and more operators and also authorities are questioning that. So I think the gaming industry will get more and more professional. You mentioned the pandemic. I think the pandemic, to be honest, it brought us a lot of extra players and a lot of extra revenue. But I think the pandemic merely speeded up a process which is already going on. And that process is, that the online gambling industry is taking over from the land-based industry, at least to a large extent. I also think that the online gambling industry will, at a certain moment in time, be much bigger than the land-based industry ever was. And I don't think you can change much about that. If I look at my sons, they're 18 and 19 years old, and together with their friends, they play on several online casinos. They place bets on football matches. Like we used to do when we were small. We just put money on the table, but they do it now via an online betting site. But my sons never go to a casino. It's too much hassle. You have to drive there, park the car, go inside. They play online. They do everything online. They order food online. They order their clothes online. Even the girlfriends they find online. This is the newest generation. And I think the online gambling industry is the future for them also. Yes. So I don't think that the pandemic, it just speeded up a process. There will not be a new normal. I think as soon as there's a vaccine for the pandemic, I think the world will very quickly go back to the old normal, because at the end, Tim, we are social beings. Yes, we like to be in a full restaurant. We like to do après-ski during our ski holiday, and also we like to go to the office, to work together with our colleagues. So I don't think the pandemic will change much for us.
Obviously, you've made sort of the standout point of the industry, and that it's digitalizing. But
yes.
With that, of course, the industry is very competitive, and that there are a lot of online slot companies, a lot of online casino companies. How does Stakelogic aim to stand out in this kind of competitive field?
Well, I think we are already standing out in a few areas. For one, we are a niche player. So 60% of our games are designed and developed for a very specific player group. And what you see is that for those player groups, our games are placed on very high positions on the casino sites, and these games have a very long life cycle. And furthermore, I think, we are the world leader where it comes to classic slot games. And the demand for classic slot games, for us at least, is exploding at the moment, because a lot of operators are preparing themselves for the regulation of the Dutch market. And for the Dutch market, the classic slot games are going to be very, very important, and we are seen as the main supplier, which is very good for us. When you look at the developments in the industry, you see a lot of concentration at this moment in time, also on the casino side, but also on the product side. The examples for that. For Stakelogic, it's also important to see how we will grow our company, because we've grown autonomously. And if we want to increase the development capacity, to create more and more games in the future, we can decide to take over other game studios, and follow an M&A strategy. But we decided not to do that. We want to keep Stakelogic, and we want to keep growing autonomously as we're doing today. However, we do want to increase our development capacity. So that's why we have started our Green Logic program. And the Green Logic program actually means a very tight cooperation between Stakelogic and game studios we really like. So we don't allow anybody to become a Green Logic partner. These are really companies who have the same kind of game development and the same quality standards as we have. We've defined a system where we review the development process of a game. But the game concepts and the client side are developed by the partner, and Stakelogic will create the game logic and do the whole back office integration, and Stakelogic will also distribute the games. And so far, we only started with this program, I think 2 months ago. We've signed up 7 partners, and we're talking to a lot of other partners, and the first games are actually going out. So these games are being published as regular Stakelogic games, as Stakelogic is involved in the entire development process. They are distributed on the Stakelogic licenses, Stakelogic certificates to Stakelogic clients. But we expect that we can at least double our capacity within the next 2 years through the Green Logic program. So instead of buying companies and trying to integrate all these companies and then decide which staff are we going to hold and which staff has to go, that's not what we're going to do. We say we're going to cooperate with studios we really like, and we're very successful to this point in time.
Okay, no, that's definitely an interesting approach, given the amount of M&A we're seeing sort of in certain sectors of the industry. Yeah. You talked about obviously how to grow, and related to that, a final major topic I want to talk to you about is kind of innovation in the slot sector. Has there been enough innovation recently? Because you have, I said, sort of two sides of the argument. Some people say, yeah, there's a lot of sort of new creative games, but others say, at its core, it's always the product's kind of remained roughly similar. What's your take? Has there been enough innovation?
Well, Tim, I think there was a lot of innovation. If you take the slot games from 5 years ago, which were 3x5, I think we came a long way, and the games have evolved tremendously to almost any variation you can think of. We have very complex win lines, features, bonus games, leaderboards, jackpots, side bets in all shapes and forms. So I think if you compare the games we have today with the games we had 10 years ago, they're very, very different. So definitely the industry is evolving. There's more and more creativity in the games. I think also the whole technology around our industry is evolving. Just look at the internet. The bandwidth is increasing, the connectivity, the more and more people are connected. So there's more and more people in the world who can play advanced slot games. But if you look within the game studios itself, the software development environments have changed. So we are now able to create very nice animated games, which are very small in size. We can create them in a short time frame at lower costs. So I think really this industry is really evolving very rapidly. I don't agree that there's not enough innovation, because the games are really very different than the games this industry created 5 to 10 years ago. And I think the games will even be more and more nice as technology will evolve over the coming years.
So you definitely see a sort of bright future for more innovation and kind of more growth in the slot sector.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, Stephan, thank you very much for your time.
It was an honor to be in your program, Tim. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. Thank you very much. And to our viewers, thanks very much for watching.
Okay. Bye-bye.